Smoking and toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Ian at this point would say, sounds like a party, but he's not here this week. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous
Hi, Mom.
Smoking and Toasting. Thank you, Terry, for jumping in. Also, Terry, could you give me just a little more headphones? For some reason, I thought I had them right, and that's a little bit better. Touch more, and thank you, sir.
Right.
Welcome to show number 349 of Smoking and Toasting.
Halfway to 400.
That's exactly right. Thank you for it's. I'm not really good with the math. I always leave that to Ian.
Yeah.
So he's the one that
But
will
you brought
jump
a
in
friend
and
today.
say. But I, in Ian's absence today, Ian, by the way, is at a wedding, and so is out. He's in the land of 38,000 lakes. How many lakes is it in Minnesota?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it 1,000 lakes? Is it 10,000 lakes? I don't remember.
10 million.
10 million. There's a lot of lakes.
There's a
lots
bunch
of
on the
license plate, I
freaking
think.
lakes in Minnesota. Yes. So that's where he is. He's at a wedding, and
He's a guest and playing.
a guest and a performer.
Yes.
Yes. So here's what I'm hoping happens, because he was, I think it's his nephew's wedding. He was asked to sing at the wedding, and what I'm hoping is that because he would normally be here at this time, that his brain just sort of kicks into the drinking news song instead of whatever he's supposed to be singing
He's
at the
just
wedding.
standing there with the
That would be-
ukulele.
yeah. And just Florida man with one arm, Yeah. So anyway, but Ian is always missed when he is not here, but we'll miss him a little less this time because my good friend Jim Hime is here. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I've had several friends that I've dragged onto the show over time, but Jim I asked to come in and co-host with me, so I really appreciate your
He
being
doesn't
here.
know what he's doing.
That's exactly right.
Obviously.
That's why you're here, is because I don't know what I'm doing, and you're going to make it all okay.
That's good, because I
That's-
don't know what I'm doing.
That's the hope. Yeah. One of my favorite memes on the internet is like, it's this little white dog, and he's in an airplane cockpit, and he's just looking at the camera, and it says, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that is exactly how I feel every week when we start Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Jim is a friend that I've enjoyed all of those things with, and so I thought he would be fun to have on the show this week and just kind of help me through the week where Ian is gone. Now, one thing I didn't ask you about before the show, Jim, but I will kind of throw it in there now, is that Ian is usually responsible for most of the pithy remarks that happen during the show. So
that's going to be a problem.
I just wanted you to feel free. That's all. That's all.
Lots of pith.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it that thing in the middle of the
I
peach?
think I have
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah, I think I do as well. Anyway, welcome to the show. Today on the program, we're going to do some interesting tastings. At least I think they will be interesting. From New Magnolia Brewing Company right here in our hometown of Houston, Texas. We'll be trying their West Coast style Pilsner called Hella Pils. So looking forward to that. From Georgetown Brewing Company in Seattle, Washington, we're going to try an IPA. And some of these breweries have like the greatest names for their beers, and this is one of those. This IPA is called You'll Get Nothing and Like It.
Oh,
which
that reminds me of a girl I dated in college.
I remember my parents actually using that phrase when I was growing up. You'll get nothing and like it.
Like it.
Yeah. But your example's more on the money.
More
I think.
real.
Yes, absolutely. And finally, from Barrier Brewing Company, they are a very interesting brewery. We'll tell you a little bit more about them when we get there, but they have teamed up with a very popular coffee company in their area to offer something called Half and Half. It's an Imperial Milk Stout. So we'll be tasting that on the program. And just in time for Jim, because I know you're a fan of rye whiskey.
I am.
We'll be tasting a rye called the Prideful Goat, straight rye. I believe the Prideful Goat is actually headquartered here in Houston, but the particular juice in this rye is sourced from Indiana. So all American, but not necessarily a Texas rye, but maybe a Texas company. I only mention that because
We're going to drink it in
Texas
Texas.
whiskey becomes such a big thing. Yeah, that's absolutely right. We will do another edition of Drinking News. Even though Ian won't be here to enjoy it today, we will get to Drinking News before the program is up. And our Drinking News for today, our teaser headline, it's another edition of Crooks Are Stupid on Drinking News today. So we have all of that to look forward to. And we'll also be talking about a very interesting article I came across that kind of helps to answer a question that people ask me sometimes, because we'll do like the cigar reviews and we'll talk about different things and different notes and flavors, and people go, how do you figure that out? And it's not necessarily like an easy thing. Like when I first started smoking cigars, I just enjoyed cigars. I didn't necessarily go, oh, that's a pepper note, or it's something that you can kind of develop that.
It's subtle.
So it's subtle. And so that's what this article is about that we're going to share with you, is how to taste the flavor notes in your cigar. And I'll give you some hints of just some of the things that help me start to be able to determine that a little bit. And
That would be very helpful.
It's really true for anything, for spirits or for beers, is learning to just kind of isolate what it is you're tasting. And the easiest way to get started with that is just to talk about it. So, and that's essentially what we do here on the show. So looking forward to all of that. And Jim, I want to start with you by just saying, and I've not known you for a long time. My wife has known you for a very long time. You and
Quite
your
a number
wife.
of years.
But how did you first get started in the world of smoking cigars? Have you been doing that since
25 years ago.
25 years ago? Okay.
Friends of mine were hanging around, whenever we got together, smoking pipes.
Oh, right. I
With
think I remember you telling
Ben
me this.
Huggins
Yeah. Mhm.
And a bunch of other friends of ours from church. We like to smoke pipes. And
Now, I'm going to get to the smoking at church thing a little later in the show, but I do want to hear about that. But
we do.
But
we do.
But what
well,
got you
it's
started?
after church, not like in the sanctuary, but
it's still at church, which I think
Yes.
is kind of awesome.
yeah.
But
Usually after church, we're smoking cigars and imbibing and beverages.
I like it, which only proves I grew up in the wrong church.
Indeed, you did. The Baptist church. So did I. I got away from it as soon as possible.
What is this, Catholic Church?
Well, it's semi-Catholic. It's what we call Catholic light, Episcopalian.
Episcopalian. Yeah, exactly.
See?
Episcopalian.
But we're
yeah.
even a branch of that. We're Reformed Episcopalians.
Okay.
So, but I love that
So-
the reforms apparently include cigar smoking and
I
and
didn't-
whiskey tasting.
I knew
So-
that the alcohol was okay because
Yeah.
I grew up Catholic, and I remember that the priests had a thing of
Yes.
alcohol in
Brandy
there
or whatever
yeah,
it might be.
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
were fine. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we follow more or less that tradition.
but you got started with pipes and then
Yeah,
kind of
and so
evolved
we
cigars.
would go to the pipe shop on Richmond Avenue. No, it's Richmond Avenue Cigar. There was another place down the street there near Fondren and Richmond.
Yep.
Anyway, it was more of a pipe tobacco place, but they also had a cigar humidor.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, we eventually migrated to the humidor. Back in those days, you
And
could
got
get a
started.
really fine hand-rolled cigar for $2.50, $3 back in
Those
the
were-
olden times.
Those were the days. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Before the cigar fad.
I still have a little like antique sign that's hanging up in my house that says "Cigars 5 cents," and that's a really, really old sign.
I think you could get a house for $5,000 in those days.
Yeah, and now you can't get a car for $5,000. So
Down payment,
yeah.
not even.
No.
and some cigars really will run you more than that.
Yeah,
I
if you're
try
not
to
careful.
stay in the $10 range. And
yeah.
are y'all recording this? Because I don't want my wife to know about that.
Yes. When you say $10 range, you're talking about a box of cigars,
A
right?
whole box
Exactly.
of
A whole
cigars.
box of
Yeah,
cigars.
that's what I meant.
A whole
That's
box
what
of
you meant.
nickel
Okay.
cigars.
All right, Elaine,
Appreciate
no
that,
worries, Elaine.
Cruz. Thank you very much.
So, well,
Got you
we will talk about that a little bit because I do want to get, and I'll get into this in the next segment. I do want to get a little bit into the world of more expensive cigars. One that I smoked this week that I will tell you about that I'll just spoiler alert. I liked it a lot. It was it wasn't like outrageously expensive, but it was more than I normally spend for a regular
Sure.
cigar. And so, what are your expectations? When you're paying in the $10, $12, $15 range for cigars.
You're expecting a good performance.
Exactly, and the stakes are a little bit higher, right?
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah. But I mean, you used to get the same performance out of $4 and $5
Right,
cigars.
right. Oh, yeah.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Time flies.
One of the things we do to lower expectations around here is that we occasionally try something we call the mystery beverage, and basically all this is that one of us will bring in a beverage that we don't tell everyone what it is until it's tasted. When we do the beer tastings and the whiskey tasting, you'll know what it is. But this one is something from the fridge.
Grapefruit.
Yes, it does have a
Very
grapefruit on the nose, doesn't it?
Very grapefruity.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's all you really get on the nose.
That's really what I was going to say. You
just
can't even
grapefruit.
find anything else. That's
Yeah.
it. Just grapefruit and crisp,
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet on the finish.
But it tastes like it smells.
Tastes just like it smells, except for the sweetness. You don't get the sweetness.
You don't get the
when
sweetness. Yes,
when
in
you're when you're on the nose.
Yeah.
So, do you like this, Terry?
I do.
What about
I like
you?
it.
I'm. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love the grapefruit. I go there. The finish.
Who doesn't like grapefruit?
Right, grapefruit's wonderful. It's the mother of all fruits, in my opinion. But on the finish, it's got that. This is common with a lot of seltzers, the hard seltzers. It's got that just artificial sweetener taste.
I do taste that.
Is that what
yes,
this is?
I do taste that.
In fact, it actually is. No.
I don't think I've ever
not.
had one.
I'm not correct. It is not a seltzer. This is a Deep Eddy Ruby Red vodka soda.
Oh, okay.
In a can.
Okay.
It's a canned cocktail, crafted with real grapefruit juice, which
They
you
kind
can,
of give
of
it
course,
away
do.
right there on
Yeah,
the can.
they sort of do. Although I still remember growing up as a kid, my mom used to serve us High C. I think I've mentioned this on the show. High C fruit drink, and right there on the can, very proudly in big bold letters, it says, up to 10% real fruit juice. Yeah. So yeah. My thing about this, first of all, Deep Eddy, in my opinion, of what I've tried, makes the best grapefruit vodka that you can find.
Okay.
I've tasted a number of them, and Deep Eddy is far and away my favorite. In fact, my wife likes it. We usually have a bottle of it at home somewhere, which reminds me we're out. I need to go to
Not
Specs.
every night, though.
But no, not every night. We vary it. We mix it up. Okay. But the grapefruit, Deep Eddy grapefruit vodka is quite good. This is a vodka soda, which is ordinarily a very refreshing drink. And this is refreshing, except it has that same aftertaste that a lot of seltzers have.
You're right.
Which is that artificial sweetener.
You're right.
So
it does have that.
So
That's it.
I'm kind of disappointed in it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But if they
I'm
would
gonna
take
drink
that
it.
out-
In fact, can I have a little more?
Of course you can. This is smoking and toasting. Are you kidding me? If there's some in the can,
I mean, it's not that bad.
If there's some in the can, you can have some. No, I like it, but I have not yet bought into the canned cocktail thing.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's always something like that.
They have to put
On-
the sweetener in there
Right.
for whatever reason.
They have
and
to
it would
sweeten
probably be fine without it. I would
I mean,
almost
I don't know.
argue.
Maybe they should try stevia. I don't know.
Go
like
natural.
something that doesn't
Go
give-
natural, Eddie.
Yeah.
I don't need diet stuff when I'm having a seltzer.
Exactly. And my favorite, like, non-alcoholic seltzers are the ones where they don't put any sweetener in, where
Yes.
it's just the
Sure.
water and the flavor
Yes.
and the bubbles. Like,
Yes.
I,
So
I
do you
like that.
put add sugar to your tea?
No, but I will add a packet of stevia to my tea sometimes.
So
Depends
you
on
do
the
like
tea.
it.
Depends
you do
on the
like
tea.
it
A little
sweet.
bit, yeah.
See,
yeah.
I just drink tea when I drink tea.
And it depends on the tea, because some unsweetened tea is wonderful and some can use a little help.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of use a little help, we got to take a quick break and we will be back. I want to tell you about the cigar I smoked this week, which I found very interesting, and we got more to come, including beer tasting on Smoking and Toasting.
I'll drink to that.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My guest co-host today is Jim Hime, a good friend and fellow enthusiast of all of those things that we just mentioned. And he's in with us this week because Ian is off performing at a wedding in Minnesota, the land of some unknown but very questionably large number of lakes.
Quite a few.
So, yeah. And
About 10 million.
probably a good time to be up in Minnesota. I mean, the weather's probably cooling off a little bit, but it's not going to
That's
be
not
like
too bad
crazy
right
cold.
here in Houston.
I know.
Yeah.
For
82 degrees
This is fall. And
for 2 days.
Well, I was going to say, I think we'll get through the rest of the show before fall is over. So we're hoping so.
That's so true.
We get all 4 seasons. It's just some are a lot longer than others.
Yeah.
That's the way it is here in our hometown of Houston, Texas. I had a very interesting cigar this week that I want to talk to you a little bit about. It's the Ozgener family cigars Bosphorous, the B-52. And it's not named after the B-52 bomber because they also have a B-55, which is a 55 ring gauge and so on.
Gotcha.
So it's basically B for Bosphorous and 52 for the ring gauge. Now, Tim Ozgener and his father, Kano, founded CAO. First as a pipe tobacco company and eventually releasing cigars. Sound familiar? And before he sold it to Scandinavian Tobacco Group in 2010, I had the chance to meet Tim and spend quite a bit of time hanging out with him, talking to him about cigars and about CAO and all kinds of stuff. And I really liked him, and I liked CAO cigars. So when he left the business after his father sold the company, and even after Kano later passed away, I was always hoping that Tim would get back in some way, shape, or form, and as it turns out, he has. We've mentioned this before on the show, but after rumors that he was going to be a part of Crowned Heads, Tim ultimately started his own cigar company, Ozgener Family Cigars, which is distributed by Crowned Heads. And the Bosphorous, which is the cigar that I smoked this week, is named after the Bosphorous Strait, which is in northwestern Turkey, which apparently is where both of Tim's parents were born. So I chose the B-52, a box-pressed 5x52 cigar, kind of like a longer Robusto, and right away I got a lot of rich notes on the like deep earth, barnyard, and a nutty vibe just from sniffing the cigar. That vibe was more pronounced on the cold draw once I punched it with my punch cutter. The Bosphorous uses an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper and 2 binders, an Ecuadorian Connecticut and a second one grown in Jalapa, Nicaragua. The filler tobacco is all Nicaraguan from several different regions of the country. And so I lit the cigar up, and although I didn't necessarily get what we talk about a lot here on the show, Jim, with Nicaraguan cigars, is that Nicaraguan pepper blast, that right away
Indeed.
big rush of pepper. Didn't necessarily get that. It was nice and full from the very beginning, though. The dominant note was much more earth than it was pepper, and it gave me lots of big, chewy smoke from the very beginning. First third was very much about the earthy notes, along with toasted nuts and tea leaf and white pepper. The pepper was mostly on the finish, which was long and very pleasant. Construction was rock solid. Burn was a little wavy, but consistent enough not to need help, which was nice. The second third stayed earthy, but allowed some baking spice and a little bit of citrus zest to enter the picture. Retrohale was leather and white pepper. The final third shifted a little bit, became a little bit meatier, but lost the pepper. Tea leaf, nuttiness, and rich leather on the finish. The cigar had nice complexity, and I appreciated the flavor twists and turns. My only issue with the Bosphorous, which I really enjoyed, is the price tag. Back in the day, one of the things that drew me to CAO cigars in the first place was how amazingly good the CAO Gold Maduro was at a very reasonable price. The Bosphorous is amazingly good, but the price is not quite as reasonable. Even today, although the CAO Gold Maduro is not quite as good as it used to be, it's still decent, sells for about $7. The Ozgener family Bosphorous at the B-52 size rings in at $12 to $13. And for me, that jumps it into super premium in my estimation.
Yes.
Competition at that price range is pretty stiff. But that said, I enjoyed it too much to give it less than a 5. So welcome back, Tim Ozgener. Please keep blending. I will recommend the Bosphorous and give it a reluctant 5 at $13. And I will look forward to whatever else you may be working on for Ozgener Family Cigars. And you know about the price to quality, right? 5 means you got what you paid for.
Yeah.
So that's a good rating. And we'll be back with more. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and the people that enjoy them. Oh, and hand-rolled cigars. But yes, the people that enjoy them, and that's us. So
That's us.
Jim Hime's my guest co-host today. Terry is on the wheels of steel, making it all happen back behind the board. Thank you, Terry.
What's up?
And I have some celebrity spirit news. We try to follow these things because it seems like every other day a new celebrity is announcing a spirit or a beer or something. We've had these guys' beers on the show before. We actually got them sent down to us by the brewery that does them, and we tried them, and they were actually really good, and that was AC/DC's beers.
Ooh.
AC/DC.
Well, you would expect that one to be.
Yeah.
good.
Well, so maybe this will be good, too. They're stepping into the world of whiskey. They've launched a limited edition whiskey with Ballantine's Scotch whiskey. Ballantine's is doing a True Music Icons collection, which the drinks maker describes as a tribute to the world's finest music artists, including legendary rock band AC/DC. So this is interesting. My favorite thing about AC/DC, and you can look this up on the internet, when their first album was reviewed by Rolling Stone, they not only panned it, they just eviscerated them. It's so worth finding it
You'll
online.
never go
And
anywhere
it was
with this kind of
one of
garbage.
those. Yeah.
And yet they endeavored to persevere.
Yeah, somehow they hang in there.
Yeah.
I remember back when I was in the radio business, I always said if you're going to miss big.
Yeah.
I remember telling the label that their band would never amount to anything. They'll never sell more than 15 records. It was the Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Quite prescient.
So when you miss big.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, not only is AC/DC getting into the game, but a deceased rock star is getting
there's
into
so
the game.
Oh,
many
you
of
can do
those.
that now,
Yeah,
too?
apparently so. Whistle Pig, a very reputable whiskey company, they are dropping a new whiskey made with late legendary rocker Robbie Robertson of the band.
Wow.
One of
And
my favorites.
apparently,
Wow.
apparently he was working on this before he passed.
Okay.
with
So at least he
Whistle
got
Pig.
to taste.
Right.
That's one thing
Yeah.
I was going to ask is, can you be that if you haven't tasted it? I mean, if that
Mm-hmm. Right.
person hasn't
Right.
tasted it at all,
That's a good point.
He was 80 when he passed away, but he was in the process of working with Whistle Pig to select
He
the
died
right
with his boots
whiskey.
on.
Yeah, that's right. And he left a remarkable catalog of music behind, of course, and maybe some pretty good whiskey.
Yeah.
We'll have to try to get our
That he
hands on
never
it.
tasted.
It's called Whistle Pig 12 Rye. It's Robbie's blend, and it's being released to commemorate the 45th anniversary. Has it been 45 years of Martin Scorsese's concert film, The Last Waltz? So that's coming out, and the Whistle Pig Master Distiller says watching the film during the holidays is his long-standing tradition. So this year, when he watches it, he'll have some of Robbie's whiskey on hand, which will be kind of fun. I
And
assume.
we should as well.
Yes, we should. So we will be looking for that, trying to get some of it to come on here at the show. Whistle Pig can be a little pricey, but, hey, it's Robbie Robertson. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Jim, I think it's beer time. We are about to taste.
I was instructed to.
See, you did well. You
There
did
you go.
very
Yeah,
well.
I
One of
thought that was a lovely sound, and that's a good sign.
It is. And one of the things about Smoking and Toasting is when it comes to sound effects, we spare every expense. We
Well,
don't.
that's obvious as I look around here.
That's exactly right. So we try to put the money into the things that we're tasting,
Yes,
more so than
exactly.
into the sound effects because that affects us more
Did I
specifically.
get it over there far enough?
Yeah, you got it.
But I do
Thank you.
appreciate the real sound effects, as Ian likes
Yes.
to point out.
Yes.
Every time we have that beer opening sound effect, an actual beer is being sacrificed
Yes.
to make that sound. So, or in this case, maybe not sacrificed.
That's how
maybe-
Disney wanted it when he made animation. He wanted real sound effects.
Right, he wanted to actually
Really? Is
have
that where it came from? I was always wondering about
He
that.
wanted to have an actual train
Yes.
outside the window while he was doing the Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Well, you should come to my neighborhood because they go all night long.
Got a lot of trains. All right, so we are tasting here from a New Magnolia Brewing Company in Houston, Texas. This is their Hella Pils. It's a West Coast style Pilsner that they've hopped with Azacca and Citra hops. So I haven't tasted this yet, but what I am expecting is something that maybe sort of tastes sort of halfway in between a Pilsner and an IPA, just because they're using a little more
On the nose, I
interesting
could
hops.
see that kind of.
I'm gonna
You get a little bit of that.
I'm gonna agree with that after having tasted a lot of it.
So, and there's more to taste, by the way. So, yeah, that is kind of where it comes down. It's snappy and crisp like a Pilsner,
Right.
like you want a Pilsner to be, right?
It is,
But
really.
it is a little hoppier than most of what you would consider for Pilsner. So, I'm going to say that if Ian was here, I'm not going to say he wouldn't like it, but he's never as much into things that are a little more hoppy. But then again, it's always hard to predict because
He's not floating down the river with it.
it's always hard to predict because he likes 120-minute IPA. So
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really kind of hard
He
to
likes
figure
the
him out.
hops.
Yeah,
And this is
usually
not a lot.
I'm the hops guy. That's why I really like this. To me, this is exactly what I want my Pilsner to be.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. It comes in at 5.4%. So a tiny bit high maybe for a Pilsner, but that
that's right.
that could be of all the hops. It says that Hello Pils is a mashup of all our favorite parts of West Coast IPA and Pilsner. Crisp, clean malt provides a perfect home.
Beautiful idea.
Perfect base for American hops to shine. Citrusy and hella tropical. And I do like the kind of tropical vibe that it gives.
It's very refreshing.
That really kind of works for me.
Very crisp.
Yeah.
Very good.
Kind of digging it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
I'm with it.
I'm always looking for a Pilsner with a little more hops in it.
Well, then this one winds up being perfect.
It's like they
Congratulations.
heard me talking somewhere and said, we got to do this for Jim.
Well, and we may be on target for you with the whiskey today because it's a
rye.
It's a rye.
Although
I
you
you're
know
a rye
I'm
guy.
really an Irish guy, but
Yeah.
I go to the rye because I don't necessarily want to go all bourbon. So I just kind of go in between Irish.
Sure.
Would that be appropriate to think of rye as in between Irish and a
Well, I think of rye
traditional bourbon?
as spicier than either traditional bourbon or Irish whiskey. Yeah, a
pungent,
little. Yeah,
little
right.
more-
a little more punch.
flavorful.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I like rye, and rye also goes really, really well with IPAs.
Does
a
it?
lot of times, a lot of times you don't.
Do a lot of whiskey and beer at the same time?
Right, yeah, especially with something much hoppier like IPAs. But rye, for some reason, that the way it's got that spiciness, it kind of cuts back with that IPA.
I'm not sure I'm going to believe you until we actually do it.
We may have to do that. All right, we do have an IPA coming. We'll save some of it, and then once we try the rye, maybe you'll see what I mean.
Excellent.
So tell me a little bit about this because. Even before I was really introduced to you, my wife was saying, "You got to meet Jim. You guys would get along famously."
That's true.
And then she was
Smart woman.
She was telling me she's a smart woman who showed the occasional lapse by marrying me, but that's all right. It happens. I appreciate it.
All of our women made a mistake.
Yeah. It's not like they're perfect, but in any case, she was telling me about how you and your buddies from your church will get together. Like I guess maybe like in the breezeway or an outdoor area.
We
at
have
the
a
church.
patio.
Yeah.
That's just outside.
So after the service, you get together.
Yeah, we call it the contemporary service.
Well, see, I always wanted to get together with you and see about doing a show from there.
Yes.
Because I wanted to call it.
I can make that happen.
Totally for the title. I wanted to name it "Smoking Cigars at Church." Because I thought that would get a lot of clicks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that would.
Yeah,
but it's true too. You're telling the truth.
Yeah. Now, how did that tradition or thing get started?
A couple of buddies of mine, we were at a Christmas party. It was back in around 2000, something like that. Ben Huggins was one of the guys. You know Ben.
I know Ben, and by the way, just in case you guys knew that Ben Huggins was the lead singer of a really awesome rock and roll band called Galactic Cowboys, who never got the attention. They really just came out at the wrong time. They came out just before grunge kind of sent rock and roll back in a different direction. But these guys, what a live show, man. What a live show. They still get together every once in a while.
Indeed, they do. They'll play around town or go up to Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you have a chance to catch them, it's fun in that way that rock and roll was before grunge made it more serious.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not knocking grunge. I'm just saying prior to that, it was just fun. Yeah, it was just fun. So anyway, you and Ben and some of the other guys.
Two other guys, Bruce Suffield and I believe it was David Hartung. 4 of us smoking pipes.
Right.
And at this Christmas party, and we're outside. The girls are all inside, and we're outside in the cold smoking our pipes, and we're all facing each other. And Bruce, it was kind of a silent moment, and he takes a puff on his pipe, and he goes, when I was at Princeton, we had something called the Pipe Club. And then we all
puffed, and hopefully you did that thing where you take the pipe and turn it around and point at someone with the stem while you're talking, because it really amplifies the importance of what you're saying.
I hadn't been smoking pipes long enough at the time to know the etiquette. But.
Now, Ian has a pipe, because we do a pipe show at least once a year.
Oh.
Ian has a pipe with a stem that's about that long.
Yeah,
and so when he smokes that one,
a church warden.
A church warden, yeah, absolutely. And when he turns that one around and points it at you,
he might poke your eye
have
out.
to take him pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're listening.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I've been married for 42 years. I know how to be interrupted. Anyway, so that was the beginning of the Pipe Club, which is what we call our last Friday of the month meeting, smoking pipes and cigars at church.
That's
just
cool.
a social kind of thing that we do. We don't have any particular agenda. We talk about, everything from religion, politics, and much less serious subjects.
Yeah, the less serious subject. That's one of the things I've always loved about a great cigar lounge is you go in and you sit down, and there's guys there of every stripe. You have guys who make a lot of money. You have guys who are just regular working class guys.
Then they also let me in.
Right. You have guys with no job. But you also have, Republicans and Democrats and you have people who are religious, people who are not. And I don't know of another place I can think of where it just works. And people don't necessarily go there to be all caught up in their differences. They all enjoy a great cigar, and that just kind of links everybody together in some sort of. Yeah, that's the glue, and I do love that about all of the things.
That is
really,
one of the reasons that cigar smokers smoke.
It's the social aspect.
It's the camaraderie
and
the ability to be in situations like that. It's quite gratifying.
It absolutely is. And if you're someone who has been wanting to figure out, when we talk about different flavor notes and things like that in the cigar, about how do you tell? And by the way, when I'm telling you that, all I'm telling you is what I think I get. It can be completely different to the next guy.
Yeah, it tastes like peanut butter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I actually had a cigar one time that I got that note. It was peanut butter.
Do you remember what cigar it was?
Yes, it was an Espinosa and Ortega 601. I'll never forget it.
Oh yeah, the one with the little tail thing on the top.
I don't remember that.
Okay. Anyway,
but it was a very complex cigar. We're coming up on it.
Yeah, we're getting close. We got a few minutes here.
Because this is a
segment,
long story.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on to that one.
Cut them off.
But what we will do is we'll walk you through some of the early steps, and I'll just as we're getting ready to go to the break, I'll just tell you one of the things that I did to try to learn how to identify things is when I would get a cigar that I thought was going to be a good one, and I would light it up. Then I would look for a review of that cigar where someone said, I get notes of earth or leather or whatever it might be. And then I would try to, as I would puff on it, I would try to say, can I detect that? Yeah, I kind of think I might get what they're talking about. And again, everybody's going to come at this a little different and maybe detect different things. But that was the way I first sort of learned how to go, okay, that's chocolate. And that's what chocolate note is like in a cigar.
I'll tell my chocolate story after the break.
I am looking forward to that. I really am. Plus, still to come on the program, Drinking News is coming up, and we're going to talk to you about the best the best sipping tequilas so far in 2023, since I am a tequila fan and I just had a great tequila experience, which I will also tell you about coming up on the program. This is Smoking and Toasting. We are so glad that you are here, and thanks again to Jim Hime for jumping in and helping to rescue me this
Glad to
week
help.
with Ian out.
I didn't have anything to do.
Well, I bet you did, but when I told you we'd be sampling all these fine products,
Sealed the deal.
Yep, that's how we bring it home. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back. Smoking and Toasting is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 349, and we will be right back.
You need to keep that going.
That's good stuff. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are glad you're here and enjoying program number 349 with us.
Halfway to 400.
Yes, halfway to 400. Thank you. I had a great tequila experience this last weekend. And as any of you who've been watching the show or listened to us for some time will be completely unsurprised by the fact that it involved our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez.
You can't have a great tequila experience without her.
I'm not sure if you can. Once you know her, she's got to be a part of it. So Liliana had a birthday party and anniversary party combined, and we were invited. My wife and I were invited to her house for this party. So I took her a bag with a bottle of tequila in it, even though it said no gifts. I just, you
broke the rule.
Got to take care of Liliana, right? Yeah. So by the way, I took her a bottle of the Pasote tequila, which we did a number of shows ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 shows ago.
Okay.
Which we all went crazy
Loved,
over.
yeah.
So I got her a bottle of that, and hopefully she'll enjoy it. But what I enjoyed was walking in. It's the first time I'd ever been in her home. And you know how some houses will have these built-in bookshelves? Liliana's house had them, except they were not filled with books. They were filled with tequila. Bottles and bottles and bottles.
She's learning something
of tequila.
different.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
She reads the labels.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, for those who have had the opportunity to enjoy Liliana on this show, and we will have her back again soon, I wanted to share this with you. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold up my iPad and just show you a tiny bit of this, but I'm sending the full clip to Adam, and he will insert it in the show. This is Liliana, our tequila expert for Smoking and Toasting, singing in Spanish with the band at her birthday party. So I'm not going to worry too much about the sound, because I'll have Adam insert this. But there is the lovely Liliana, and she's actually not a bad singer at all. So you'll enjoy.
Very nice.
You'll enjoy checking that out.
Very nice.
Adam will insert it probably right about here. And so, if you're ever invited to Liliana's birthday party, you must go. She broke out my all-time favorite tequila, which is the Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia. She broke out her 2005 bottle. And then Liliana's husband, not to be outdone by her tequila expertness, started talking to me about single malt scotch, and then started breaking into his collection of single malt scotch, stuff you can't even buy anymore. Needless to say, I was so glad I had Ubered.
Here, try this.
So
You
glad
didn't
I
plan
had.
try
on
this.
driving home
No,
anyway.
when you go to Liliana's house, do not drive there.
Yeah,
do
yeah.
not drive there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I just wanted to thank Liliana, and we will have her on the show again, because I talked to her about this. We want to do we've done this with Añejo, but I want to do a Blanco tequila blind taste test, because Blanco is the least expensive, the least aged of the tequilas.
Sounds like my kind of tequila.
You generally get more of the actual agave flavor, but there's some Blancos that are really, really good. I'm an Añejo guy myself. I like the
Maybe a little bit of
I like the
college flashback going on.
Well, there could be. Although these days, when I enjoy tequila, no salt or lime is harmed, and nothing is thrown back. I don't shoot tequila anymore. Even if somebody's doing shots of tequila, I'll take one, but I'm going to sip it. Even if it's the cheap stuff, I just enjoy it too much.
You're drinking it differently. You're not trying to get as much from point A to point B in as least of amount of time.
There was a different objective in college.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no question.
There were there
were several different
competing
objectives.
interests in college.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. And but I remember doing things like we had this thing we called the shot ski, and you would put it was this small ski, like a something that you would ski with, right?
Okay.
Except it was a little bit smaller, but it was shaped like a ski, and it had holes cut in it for 4 or 5 different holes.
Like tequila flights.
Into those holes, you would insert the shot glass, then you'd fill them all up, and then everybody does it at the same time. That's college.
That's camaraderie.
Wow. Everybody
right
at the same time.
I got an
shared
education. That's what I'm telling
suffering.
you. I got an education, and I remember it well. By the way, those of you who are on one of our affiliates where they only take the first hour of the show, this is where we bid you adieu. But there is a great second hour coming up, and you can always check it out if your affiliate does not carry both hours of the show. First of all, write them letters, stand on the doorstep, demand that they do. But more importantly, you can check us out anywhere on any of the socials, or we always like to point you towards YouTube, because that's a good place to catch the show and catch the second hour, because we got drinking news coming up, and boy, do we have some things to taste, including but not limited to an IPA called You'll Get Nothing and Like It. And
again, reminding me of college and the girls I dated there.
And that will be coming up next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. All things that we enjoy. We enjoy talking about them, and we enjoy sharing that with you. And, I mentioned before that Ian, who's my normal co-host here on the show, I met him because my wife said, I got a friend, somebody that you got to meet.
The abnormal co-host.
Yeah, right. And the abnormal co-host is the same thing. My wife said, you got to meet Jim and his wife Elaine. They're wonderful, and they are. But, whenever your wife says, hey, I really want you to meet these people I know, it's kind of like...
Yeah, but if it wasn't for her...
Right. But here's the thing. She's smart enough to go, I think you'll like him. He really enjoys cigars. And
That's all it took right
I
there.
was like, okay, I'm in.
He could be a complete idiot now, but he likes cigars.
He likes cigars. I'm in.
Not far from the truth, actually.
Hey, I've sat next to a lot of complete idiots in the cigar lounges and had a great time talking with them.
See, you're right. Holds people
not
together.
here.
And I'm sure they say the same thing about me, so it's all good. But seriously, much like when I kind of was getting to know Ian for the first time, and we were sitting out on my balcony, and I was bringing out beers from the fridge, and we were pouring them and talking about them and talking about cigars. And when, he and his wife left, I said to my wife, that's a show. And it's kind of like the reason that I asked Jim to come in is because I have had very similar experiences sitting on Jim's world famous front porch.
Famous porch.
Yeah. And it's just great. You just sit there and
drink
and smoke and talk about
you
whatever.
don't even have to talk if you don't want to.
I have a hard time not talking. I realize this, but
I can barely restrain myself.
But we had such a good time and talking about everything. I thought, well, we'll just do that on the show.
We've done it twice, and we need to do it a third time on your balcony.
Yes, we do. And it's
35 floors up.
Getting to be just about the perfect time to do that too, weather-wise.
It is.
So,
we got about 2 more days.
I'm actually really, really excited about it. So if you're like me, when you first got started doing cigars, you might read some things where they say, oh, yes, this tastes like toasted pumpernickel bread with zinc salt on top of it, and you're like,
zinc
how
salt?
did you get that?
I was fascinated when I first started here on this show. I remember mentioning it to you. I'm like, it's amazing. You can just say anything.
Yeah,
like you can make up anything.
Just completely
it's just
make it up. Yes.
Used Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Anything you want, and it's
that
fine.
would be Scotch.
Yeah, there is a sense of that in some of the things we have talked about here on the show. But when you begin to learn, if it's something you want to learn, it's a process. And the good news is it's a really enjoyable process because you're gonna smoke the cigars, or you're gonna drink the spirits or the beer or whatever, and try to get the flavors and try to isolate them and figure them out. And I found a very interesting article from the cigarauthority.com, which is a great website. And I want to read you just a little bit of this. It says, in order to properly taste the subtle nuances of the cigar, the first thing is you don't want the cigar to burn too hot. Many people make the mistake of over-smoking a cigar. They say you can avoid this by limiting yourself to, a couple of pulls per minute on the stick. I probably go more than that, but if I get a sense that the cigar is smoking a little hot, I'll just slow that down, and that has a tendency to.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It is a thing. But you can't always stop it by smoking it slower. Sometimes
the cigar just burns too hot.
Yeah,
absolutely. So on the pull a cigar with the smoke in your mouth, they say you should begin to taste what the cigar has to offer. But if you don't, do not fret, because there's some simple tricks they offer to expedite the process. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. With the smoke in your mouth, they say gently chew the smoke, which will allow your mind and the receptors on your tongue to work together, much like when you're dining on a great meal. So they say, just like chew on that smoke a little bit. When you release the smoke, blow it out slowly and gently, thus allowing the smoke to wash over the palate and giving you more time to taste what the cigar is serving. Now, we shouldn't have to say this to anybody who's listened to this show for more than a minute or two, but you do not want to inhale cigar smoke. Bad idea.
No.
Bad idea.
No, don't do it.
But pulling it into your mouth, chewing on it a little bit, exhaling slowly, these are all things that can help you begin to determine what kind of notes you're getting on the cigar. And if you aren't getting a specific taste, they say, pay attention to what part of your tongue is reacting to the cigar. If you feel it on the tip of your tongue, that is more associated with sweet tastes, while to the left and right is salty. And then moving further back along the sides is sour, and the back of your mouth is associated with bitter. Then they talk about retrohale. This serves a purpose, they say, other than causing your own self to cough. While the palate can only differentiate between a few types of flavors, the nose is actually much more sensitive. And the art of retrohaling is a little bit difficult to master. It does not involve inhaling the cigar, but it does involve, as you hold the smoke in your mouth, exhaling it through your nose instead of just
professional like we
out
are,
the mouth.
You can do it.
Yeah, it's not something I was able to do for a while.
No, it takes a little practice.
But when the smoke is in your mouth, they say let it drift towards the back and breathe through the nose, pushing the smoke out. When you first do this, they say you're likely to only get pepper. And that is what I get a lot on retrohale anyway, to be honest. But as you grow accustomed to it, it'll help you identify the flavors. And many manufacturers and blenders state if you don't retrohale, you're not getting the full experience of the blend.
I've heard that.
Retrohale can turn a sweet cigar into a cigar with robust chocolate notes or even the subtle sweetness of Chinese pea pods. And then there's the finish.
Pea pods.
I didn't write it. I'm not sure what they meant by that.
Okay.
Maybe we should open a beer.
I'm not trying to rush you through this, Cruz. I'm just getting thirsty.
There goes those random things you can say. Anything. A Chinese pea pod.
So I'll finish up with the finish while you open and pour our next beer. Ooh, see.
Nice.
What's that?
Nice.
Professionally done?
I don't know if we
Has
even need
anybody ever
Ian
done
to
it
come
better
back.
than that?
I don't even know if we even need Ian to come back. You've got that down so well.
No, let's not go there.
We may just have to have you just open cans now.
Yeah.
For that.
I could do that.
It probably would come with
I
samples.
got a ton of time on my hands.
Sometimes we refer to the cigar having undertones or overtones of nuts complementing the chocolate. This is the result of flavor that is left generally after the smoke has left your mouth, or the finish. A short finish means that these flavors stop relatively fast, while a long finish means that the flavors and characteristics of the cigar linger after the cigar or puff is finished. And I will just say my absolute favorite cigars are the ones where the finish is longer. where you're just experiencing that for it's just a little while, even after you've already exhaled, and you get
Like the next day?
Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah.
Not that long.
That might be my favorite, not necessarily
That's
everyone
not your
else's.
wife's favorite.
Yeah. The debate is out there as to which is better. The writer of the article says they enjoy short to moderate finish because they want to move to the next cigar.
Everybody
while
wants
others
something different.
like the long finish so they can enjoy the moment for a prolonged period of time. Last thing, don't smash your cigar out. I mean, that's a Cigar 101 thing, but I'm surprised at how many people I see that do it. Just put it
You
in the
know why
ashtray,
that's true?
let it go out.
Because they're so expensive, you can keep it for the next day and relight it.
That's true. Now,
I get criticized for doing that, but I do it
so
anyway.
I want to share with you something. When Ian and I went to Honduras and were guests of the Aladinos at the Aladino Tobacco Farm and Factory, one of the guys that was on that trip taught me something, and I think it works. Like, I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe you need to try
I
it
do
a
it to
few
this
more
day.
times.
I think it works.
I do
We
it,
were
but I'm
talking
not
about
sure.
how when you've been smoking a cigar and the cigar goes out and maybe you left it idle for a while, that
A
sometimes
day?
when you relight it, you can get what we call the relight penalty, where there's some bitterness.
That's true.
So this suggestion was that when you relight the cigar, before you begin to puff and draw it into your mouth, to basically exhale through the cigar, to blow the bitterness out to some degree of cigar.
That's something that
I think it works.
Okay.
I've never done that.
I'm
I'm going to try now. We used to get cigars a lot of times that had a very acrid kind of ammonia flavor to it. It was horrible, and presumably they hadn't aged long enough.
Right.
And so what you would do is you would light it up and blow through it, and you could blow it out. So makes sense that would work.
I will say that I have had some cigars where I've tried that, and there still was a bit of bitterness to it, and it wasn't as good as it had been before it went out and had to be relit. But I've had some others where it feels like it's worked, and so I do try to do that. Anytime my cigar has sat for too long and gone out. If it just went out like a moment ago, you're fine. Just torch it up again and you'll be okay.
Right.
But if it's been out for a little while, that's when some of that bitterness seems to set in.
I like bitter, actually. I'm going for bitter.
Then hopefully you'll like our next beer. I don't know how bitter it's going to be, but it's an India Pale Ale from Georgetown Brewing Company in Seattle, Washington. It says right here on the title, and this is one of the, I just love these great titles for beers that come from some of these breweries. This one is called You'll Get Nothing and Like It. And so I don't know. They do say also around the top,
Spalding.
please refrigerate. Warm beer sucks.
Caddyshack reference?
So, yes.
Going for that?
We got to. Caddyshack references are always allowed
Yes,
on this
of
program.
course.
Yeah.
Caddyshack and Night Shift with Michael Keaton.
Those
Those references are
Henry Winkler.
always allowed.
Yes.
Henry
Indeed.
Winkler's genius in
Indeed.
that. Oh, that's. Don't get me started. We'll be doing the next 3 segments on
We
my
don't have
favorite
enough time.
passages. My favorite passages from that movie.
Salute,
but this
my
salute.
friend.
This is the India Pale Ale from Georgetown Brewing Company, Seattle, Washington. A lot of competition in that area of the country for breweries, and
Unusual.
yes.
Coconut, maybe?
I want to look and see what hops they're using, or see if it says. Sometimes they say, and sometimes they do not.
Wow. It's
It doesn't say what hops they're using here, but it is 6.9, so it's fairly big. And you're right. There's a definite, like, almost coconutty taste on the finish.
I was guessing.
It's citrus in the front,
Citrus, yeah.
citrus in the front, and maybe sort of it's like coconut. It's not, because I've had some beers that really taste coconut.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah,
this
this is
not
very
that
subtle.
right. This is not
Much
that
more subtle.
But
This tastes like beer.
It tastes a lot like beer.
It tastes like
I
That's
really like
because
that.
of the
Yeah.
hops.
I really like this.
Yeah.
I like it
Do you
too.
like it? Yeah, I think it's
Well, I
nice.
have to like it because you'll get nothing and
like
like
it.
it.
That's right.
That's right.
But even despite
Nothing.
despite the title, I think this is actually pretty good. Now, hold on to a little bit of this in your cup because in our next segment, we're going to pull out that rye whiskey.
Oh, I
and
can't wait.
Once we've tried that, I want you to be able to go back to the IPA and see how well they work
Do
together.
a little pairing.
It has been my experience, and Ian was actually the first one that really pointed this out to me. It's been my experience that IPAs and ryes have a tendency to do what Ian describes as they form like Voltron. And just kind
Voltrons?
of, yeah.
What are those?
What are those, Voltron?
That's a
I mean,
It's a cartoon I used to watch when I was a kid.
it's Transformers reference.
It's not Transformers. Voltron is
Oh, that's
completely
true.
different.
No, you're right, but it's the same type of thing. But thank you for
same-
clarifying.
It is
Thank
basically
you for clarifying.
they're 5 lions that
Because-
can form as one robot
Yeah.
that becomes Voltron, and that's why he says forms like Voltron.
okay.
Now-
You guys are
the
younger
5
than me.
lions.
We
Now,
used to
see-
watch Bugs Bunny.
Here is the thing.
No robots.
We have
Voltrons.
yeah, but he loved to dress up
was
in a
pre-anime.
dress and put lipstick on, didn't he?
You
Bugs
had to
Bunny.
go there.
Bugs Bunny.
You had to go there with
telling you,
Bugs
he did.
That's what you
He
think
loved
I
about
saw him
when
being
you
Carmen
hear Bugs
Miranda.
Bunny.
I saw him being Carmen Miranda the other day.
Carmen
on
Miranda
yeah.
Rabbit. I remember that.
was
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. All right, we are going to somehow get out of this segment.
There's
and,
no way.
And get
We're
back.
stuck.
Get back to the show here momentarily. It's Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My guest host this week is Jim Hime. Ian will be back with us next week. But Jim, thank you for coming in and
welcome.
drinking some whiskey with me. In fact, you can get right. You can get right to pouring that if you like.
Well, we
And
got
it. Not bad. Not bad at all.
You're welcome.
Yep. So while he's pouring that, I'll just mention that again. My best advice I can give you if you're looking to, it looks about right. We can always pour more. And my best advice that I will give you if you are looking to enhance your understanding of the flavors and the notes that you're getting in your cigar is honestly find something that's been reviewed and buy that cigar. And then when you go, oh wow, we got
You needed to clear the neck. You didn't do a good job of clearing the neck
That's
for
true.
safety purposes.
Yeah, often for OSHA requirement purposes, I will make sure that I have taken the plastic topping off so you don't get any plastic cuts. I did do that, but what I didn't do is I didn't clear the neck of this bottle to help prevent
That
spillage.
threw me off.
Yeah.
Yes,
Totally threw me off.
exactly what-
Often the bottles that I bring in I'll have cleared the neck.
I'll
just
just
for
leave
safety.
that up. Let it
You
breathe.
might as well. You might as well.
Decanter.
Anyway, if you see in a review that the reviewer was getting a particular flavor or note in your cigar or in whiskey or wine or anything else,
That's a great idea. I wouldn't
then-
have thought
then
of that.
When you try that same one, look to see if you can identify those same ones that and it's a process. You won't get 32 different things the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But you can learn about the basic ones, like with cigars, it would be earth and pepper and leather and chocolate would be the notes I think you would be the first to pick up on, depending on what you're smoking. If you're smoking lighter, more Connecticut wrapper cigars, it might be toast and nuttiness, maybe even a little buttered toast sometimes. Which
Buttered toast.
can be
I love
pretty
buttered
wonderful.
toast.
So speaking of things we love rye whiskey, and
Indeed
this
we
is
do.
unfiltered cask strength from a company called the Prideful Goat. And I'll show you that. I'm sure we got
That's a
B-roll of
bold
it too.
statement,
But that
the
is the
Prideful
Prideful Goat. Yes, and so we'll see how this works and what
Salute.
we're getting from it. Salute.
Smells lovely.
Smells like rye
That's
whiskey.
quite a
Yeah.
bouquet.
It does. I'm getting
It's
a
got
little
a
bit of
sweetness.
corn.
Corn?
Yeah, a little bit of wheat. Ooh, that's a good rye.
Ooh.
It is spicy
It
in
is.
the best possible way.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it really is. Now, this is unfiltered cask strength, so this is coming in at 57.7%. So, yeah, this is...
Why didn't they go to 60? Why didn't
I
they
don't
Feel it
know.
all the way to my tummy.
I don't know, but am I reading that right? Does that say it's 115.4 proof?
It says 115.4
Yeah.
proof.
Wow.
Proof.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can see that from over here.
This is pretty serious.
Wow.
Pretty serious stuff here, but it is.
We should probably only drink half of it.
Yeah.
At least this show. yeah. But boy, I like it. It's got a little what we like to call the whiskey hug on its way down. Comes back and
it's
greets
pretty
you, but
mild.
it's
It's
not. It's
relatively
not. Yeah,
mild.
it's
It's
not
not
like
hot.
over the top. No, it's not. And a lot of times with rye, because you get the spices, you think that they're going to be spicy in a very hot way, and it's not like that at all.
No. This is quite lovely, actually.
All right, now, do you have any of your IPA left?
I do. I saved some as I was instructed.
Try going back to your IPA now that you've had some of the rye,
Terry, you need some more?
No, I got.
and see if it helps you obtain an understanding of these four lions that combine into a robot.
The
Wow.
Voltar.
Yeah.
Voltron.
Voltron.
Yeah. But so it's interesting because this particular
does.
IPA becomes more citrusy.
Yeah.
And I get less of what we were
I
getting
wasn't
on the
actually
finish.
thinking about it, so I need to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think.
course-
You have to. This is a cerebral
Yes, it is.
sort of endeavor we're involved in here, just
Mm.
so everybody knows.
And boy, talk about going back to the rye after the IPA. That's a kind of a sensory explosion experience.
Yeah, it is.
I'm digging this. We're going to talk about this more in the break, and we will be back, my friends.
I think we need another can.
I don't know if I have another can. Oh, what are we going to do? Wait, we do have more whiskey, though. Drinking News is next, my friends. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I just keep going back and forth between the rye and the IPA.
Why not?
Because why not? Exactly.
Maybe it just no.
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know that.
I remember the Boilermaker.
Boilermaker? I was gonna
the
say, yeah,
college
Boiler-
flashback.
Yeah,
it happens again.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. So,
It's a callback.
speaking of flashbacks, we have one weekly here on the program. It's a segment that, through literally forces that we can never explain or understand, has become the most popular segment on Smoking and Toasting, which isn't saying much. It's kind of like being. It's kind of like being the shortest midget in the room. You know what I mean? But or the
Can you
tallest.
say that?
The tallest midget in the room. No, you really can't. But the tallest little person just doesn't quite.
It doesn't get the imagery.
Right. So apologies, please, to anyone who has been. I got to figure if you've made it this far into this show, you're probably not that easily offended. I'm just
Hopefully
saying.
you're drunk by now.
Yeah, exactly. But our segment called Drinking News is something where we bring you a story or stories that we have collected from the real world out there. So they're not from parody news sites like The Onion or something like that. They are at least believed to be real. They are often, but not always, stories about drinking. But they are always stories that are best enjoyed if you have been drinking. And we fit that bill today. And
Indeed
it's
we do.
time for Drinking News.
There's a podcast all about cigars and booze. Hanging out every week with Ian and Cruz. For spirited discussion and cigar reviews. And the segment known around the world is Drinking News. It's Drinking News. It's what I love. Me and a Florida man and a bottle of rum. I'll pour another round. What do we got to lose? Let me tell you a story, swear to God it's true. Well, a night on the town, we took a turn to the south. When I started drinking that whiskey and running my mouth, I belly up to the bar, another round or two. to one. You know we couldn't lose. So me and a Florida man fought a kangaroo. We went a couple of rounds and beat us black and blue. Lord, I hope we don't wind up on drinking news. On drinking news. On drinking news. Mama, I hope I don't wind up on drinking news.
Special thanks to our own cocktail expert, Chris Morris, for the alternate version of the Drinking News theme song, which comes in handy when Ian's not here because I cannot play the ukulele.
And I can't sing.
Yeah, so that puts us in debt to Chris Morris. So thank you, Chris. We would love to have you back on the show soon, by the way. Well, it's time today for the return of a Drinking News favorite feature, and it's one that we just call Crooks Are Stupid. Stories of robberies, heists, assaults, and evil world domination plans gone wrong that teach us to never overestimate the intelligence of politicians. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I meant to say never overestimate the intelligence of criminals.
Yeah, I think you just said that.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, potato, right? Yeah. So, in any event, a roundup of criminal masterminds begins in Detroit, Michigan, where police officers were demonstrating their patrol car's felon location system to the children of a neighborhood during an educational lesson. While this was happening, a Michigan man named R.C. Gaitan walked up to them and asked them about the process. So to show him how the system worked, they asked for his ID or driver's license to use for the demonstration. And the demonstration was successful. When they placed his driver's license in the system, they found out that the man was wanted for a robbery committed 2 years earlier. Gaitan was immediately arrested, causing at least one kid in the audience to say, Thank you. That's better. Thank you. And from the Motor City, we head to the land down under, where a Sydney man got more than he could handle when he reached into the window of a parked car and snatched a bag. Now, normally, this would sound like just, another everyday crime. But in this particular case, the bag in question belonged to a man named Brad McDonald. McDonald's occupation? Professional snake catcher. And it gets better. The bag stolen from his parked car contained, wouldn't you know it, a highly venomous snake that McDonald had just captured from an underground car park in Sydney.
Oh.
The thief reportedly surrendered of his own will to the cops in an attempt to save himself from the snake. Dateline St. Paul, Minnesota, where a hot-tempered Minnesota man named Justin John Bodan was involved in an argument with a woman at the bus station, because of course he was, which ultimately resulted in him punching her in the face.
Ooh.
He also attacked another person who was close by, and when he did, it caused him to drop a folder on the ground that he'd been holding. And then when he realized he'd better flee the scene, he ran off without retrieving said folder.
Ooh.
Police officers who arrived on the scene a few minutes later examined the folder, and as you might guess, were able to track Boudin down thanks to what was inside. His anger management homework.
Now he's really angry.
I think he might have gotten an F on that
Yeah,
class.
I don't think he was doing too well. And finally, we find ourselves in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where an Oklahoma man named Jacob Wise believed that he'd figured out a sneaky new way to remove those security tags from clothes in the store so that he could shoplift them from the store. His evil plan worked, at least initially, when he was able to successfully get the tags off of the clothing that he wanted. And with no one the wiser, Wise headed... You see what I did there, Wiser?
That was
Wise.
quite fascinating.
With no one the wiser, the Oklahoma man made his way to the store exit, only to have loud alarms and flashing lights go off as he tried to leave. Apparently, when our genius thief was able to get the security tags off of the clothes, he needed to do something with them.
Put them in his
So
pocket?
he put them in his pocket. Crooks are stupid. And Wise was arrested for shoplifting. Now, this is a story so utterly perfect that I must confess that it awakens the poet within me.
Oh, there's a poet in there?
And there is. And I mention this specifically because with Jim on the show, Jim actually writes really good, really impressive poetry.
I do.
He
I've never been published.
But here's the thing. You might think he's joking around. Like, he really writes beautiful poetry. He does. He's read some of it to me, and I'm absolutely in awe. I am a mere, amateur by comparison. However, stories like this do bring something out in me that may not be
inspiration.
Are you going to wax poetic on us?
I think that I am going to, if you will indulge me.
I will.
I would like to share my inspired prose with you here on Drinking News. It goes a little something like this. A Tulsa man, using his bus pass, went to shoplift some clothes, his balls pure brass. Though the tags he removed, still the store alarms proved. Though his name was Wise, he was a dumbass. Reporting live from the Oral Roberts Memorial Wing of the Tulsa City Jail, my name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking News.
Yes.
Indeed.
So,
I hope I'm never on it.
Cheers.
Well, like he says in the song, Lord, I hope I don't wind up on Drinking News.
I mean,
It was an illusion.
Yeah.
the guy who just gave his driver's license and then they got to arrest him right there, and it's just like, well, there you go, kids. That's how that works.
Yeah.
A full demonstration
No, that
from
went full
that
circle.
all the way
Absolutely.
to the arrest and
You
everything.
got to go deep on the psychology here and think, he wanted to be caught.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Just like the guy who stole the bag with the snake in it wanted to have a
was he
reptilian
thinking?
experience. Yeah.
Reptilian experience.
So he just saw a bag and just was like, I'm getting that bag.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was European.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God knows why you would, if you're going to steal a bag out of an open car window, why would you take the one that seems to be slithering?
Yeah, exactly. It's moving around.
All right, we have a beer to taste.
Yes, we do.
In this segment, so I'm going to.
And I have a job to do at this
that's
point.
right. It's all about sound effects and pouring.
I'm auditioning for this job.
Right, because he wants to be the
position.
permanent drink opener.
No, I didn't realize I was going to have this much fun.
See,
So now
by the way,
I'm
this
going
is
to work
what-
cheap.
This is
I
what
can-
all of our guests say when they come on Smoking and
Do
Toasting.
they?
I didn't know it was going to be this much fun.
It's fun. Yes,
They do
exactly.
say that.
That's right.
Seriously.
That
Yeah.
does.
Okay, you ready?
Yep, let's do it. Ooh, you see, that I believe may have been your best one yet.
Really?
Yes.
Because I thought there was. I think I could have got my fingernail under there a
It
little further.
felt like you could hear the frothiness.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
look
Yes.
at the
Yeah.
look
Very
at
good.
that.
And in this
Oh,
case,
boy.
so Ian is missing out. 'cause
This is
would-
what Ian's
this
missing
would
out on.
totally be
we
his
so
favorite
miss
beer.
you,
Yeah.
Ian. But of course, if you were here,
If
I
it's
wouldn't
the
be.
color of-
So I
Right,
don't
yeah.
really miss you that much.
If
So
it's the
this is-
color of a tire,
From Bear, right?
Ian is loving it.
Ian is ready
He's
to
right
drink it
there.
while he floats on a tire
Yes.
down the Guadalupe River.
Is that what he's doing?
No, he's actually at a.
Oh no, he's in the land of 10 million
10
lakes.
million lakes,
Yeah.
yes. And maybe he's floating on a tube in one of those
In one
lakes.
of those
who knows?
lakes.
But no,
But
Ian,
he's going nowhere.
But Ian,
There's no current.
Ian often talks about, because Ian loves really, really big beers.
Yes.
And so he often talks about how we'll get a beer like this. It'll be a huge Imperial Stout and it's 12% or whatever.
Yeah, you-
And then Ian will say, yeah, I'd drink that floating down the river in the middle of the summer.
Yeah,
And he would
exactly.
too. He's
Yeah.
not kidding.
Okay.
This is
104
actually
degrees.
I'm going to have to meet Ian.
yes. This is actually not 12%. It's 8.8 alcohol by volume. It's an Imperial milk stout brewed with cloud cover. I'm sorry. I was trying to make it rhyme with clover. Cloud cover coffee. And this is a brewery in Oceanside, New York, called Barrier Brewing. And they are a pretty well-respected brewery.
You been
but
there?
This is a
You
very...
been there to Oceanside?
I have
New
not
York?
been to Oceanside, New York. Have you?
Have you been? I've never been to New York at all.
Oh, I've been
I'm
to
from
New York.
Texas. I don't go
I've been to
anywhere.
New York,
been to New York.
but I have not been
I
to
didn't know
Oceanside.
Oceanside.
Terry, you been to New York?
I've been to New York.
Why?
But I will just say, I will say this though, and this is a bold statement coming from someone like me, who the closest beach I have is Galveston. But having said that, in New York they have no idea what the beach is supposed to be like. They just don't. Like, those aren't beaches.
Yeah.
That's a roller coaster and some sand and there's water out there. That is not a beach.
That's not far off of what Galveston is.
I realize
Yeah,
that.
I mean, but that makes Galveston look really good.
Well,
though.
but
It really
All
does.
right, well, I'm liking that.
Galveston does have one important thing that sets it apart. It's a part of the city motto, if I'm not mistaken, and that is that any medical waste that washes up on the shore is yours to keep. So that's always.
I don't think you're mistaken.
That's always good to know.
That's right.
So I'm also not mistaken that this is a really coffee-oriented
Yes.
Indeed.
Imperial Stout.
Yes.
Indeed,
Cloud
and-
cover coffee is happening here.
The porters and stouts that I normally drink that are toward the coffee side, this is
Now,
quite good.
you're a coffee guy, right?
Oh, I love coffee,
You love coffee,
but
okay?
no sugar in my coffee.
Okay.
Or my
Oh.
tea, Terry. I don't put any sugar in my tea.
No sugar
This
tonight
is-
in my coffee. No sugar
See,
tonight in my
see,
tea.
I thought of that
American
too, but I
woman.
thought, no, I'm too old. Nobody else is going to know that reference. So
Barton Cummings?
Burton
What?
Cummings.
Barton Cummings. Barton Cummings.
yeah, something like that.
Sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I've been drinking.
You can tell this is 8.8%. It's an Imperial milk stout brewed with coffee. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Now, it is, if you do not like coffee, you're probably not going to like this stout
Yeah.
because it
Oh,
is
I was going to say you would love
extremely-
this.
Oh, you think so?
No, but I was being ironic.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No,
I never do that. I
it's
try
a-
not to anyway.
I'm often ironic, but it's usually not on purpose, making it all the much more ironic.
Don't do it in an
Yes.
argument with
Yeah.
Mary.
Yeah, no. She'll
Don't do that, 'cause
That's
she'll
my wife.
slap you.
She'll get you.
She will.
And you know, because we only have a minute, I'll also bring up that the Alanis Morissette song "Ironic" is not about irony at all.
That's
It's
so ironic.
it's unfortunate, but
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
ironic.
It's a good song. It's just not ironic.
Yeah. I mean, rain on a wedding day. It's unfortunate. It's not ironic.
Exactly.
It's so sad.
This is
Is
what
that how
happens when you come on the show, Jim. We actually get all the way to discussing Alanis Morissette songs.
I like
and
Alanis Morissette.
and
Now we gotta talk
Terry,
about-
and Terry singing "No Sugar Tonight in My Coffee." You know, this
No
is how
sugar tonight in my
Coffee, tea.
Yeah,
That's right.
tea.
You got no sugar
All right.
tonight, Mike.
Sorry,
we
I
will.
I
We will
won't
be.
sing it.
We will be back to bid you adieu. Or maybe more than one do. I don't know. We'll be
Let's
back.
bid 3 adieux.
Let's
Three
do.
dudes.
We'll do that coming up next. It's Smoking and Toasting.
That indicates that I've been drinking. Oh, I'm sorry.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Well, I was worried, and I needn't have worried, that
No.
without Ian here, that I wouldn't have anything to crack up about. Because Ian does make me laugh. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah.
But I
He is.
needn't have
He is
worried.
with the.
Yeah,
And I wish I was a musician because this would be probably even better.
Yeah, I wish I was a musician because college dating would have been a whole lot different.
That reminds me of so many of those girls. Where's that beer that we had that indicated what was happening
Right here.
to me at college?
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
get
You-
nothing and
You'll get
like
nothing
it.
and like it. Exactly.
That's
But-
college.
But if I had just learned to play the ukulele before I got to college, I'd have been like Ian.
I sent Ian a joke the other day because it was Steve Martin and he was sitting there with his banjo describing his banjo and he said the difference between a banjo is that it's made like, you know, he was describing how it was made and the sound is projected and he said and the difference between that and a guitar is the guitar will get you laid. So that's
Oh, that's so true.
It's so brilliant. Yeah, you don't see a lot of groupies flocking around
Yeah.
the banjo player. It's like
None.
It's like
None. Not
Yeah.
any.
even at the ACMs.
Mumford and Sons has groupies, but the banjo player stands alone after the show. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
All
very
I'm
sad.
saying. Yeah.
I have a lot of sympathy for the banjo player because, again, it reminds me of when I was in college.
I get it. Well, you know, what is that? And I think Ian told me this joke about somebody who left a musician who left his car window open, and instead of stealing something, somebody put a banjo in.
Thank God it wasn't a snake.
I'm not telling the joke right, but it is what it is. So.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to mention, because we maybe covered it only briefly. This Imperial Stout is delicious.
It's quite good.
It is very, very
It's quite good. Let's get serious for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Jim likes the way that the show seems to get better as the show goes along. He's having more and more fun as the show goes along.
Why do you think we keep drinking news till almost the end of the show? It's because that would not have been nearly as funny in segment 2 as it was in the second to last segment.
You people here are brilliant, the way you set all this up.
Believe me, there's just a lot of blind luck and drinking involved. But we got to have you come out, and be on a show where we're also smoking, because we do shows on location.
We have
where
to do that, Cruz. You know we're going to have to do that.
All right, so that would be good.
That's an absolute requirement.
Now that you've been a guest host, you're sort of like family. So really, you can even just show up uninvited if you want.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have necessarily gone that way.
Yeah.
But I like it.
By the way, just forwarded, and he will put it in post, but just forwarded the clip of Liliana singing that we played you a little snippet of earlier in the show. Well, actually, Adam, by the time you're seeing this, Adam would have already added it in post, but just got the text from Adam over getting that clip for the first time. And he says, wow. And when I didn't think she could be any more awesome, she is amazing. So that's our Liliana. Be sure and catch that in the earlier parts of the show. Jim, I have seriously very much enjoyed always just anytime I get to hang out with you. It's a lot of fun.
That's because I'm a lovely person.
You are, and you have some pretty good whiskey at your house.
I do.
Pretty good whiskey.
I do have a little bit.
Yeah, I have some too. So
and none of y'all know where I live.
Right, which is a good thing probably. But I will next. You and your wife have to come over to my place and we'll drink some of my whiskey.
That we should go up on the famous balcony.
Yeah, the famous balcony. You have the famous porch. I have the famous balcony.
Indeed, you do.
So it'll be a lot of fun. But thank you for coming on and bailing me out when Ian was out for this week.
You're welcome, Ian.
It has been a lot of fun, and I just wanted to thank everybody who has gotten us through to 349 shows.
Halfway to 400.
That's right. And not only is it 349, but it's actually 348 plus the missing episode, which we'll tell you about some other time. The missing episode.
You don't count that in the counting.
It is counted in the numbers.
Oh, okay.
So even though there's 349, technically you can only access
find
348.
There's a lot of math going on here. You just lost me.
I understand. Well, thank you for keeping us straight on the map, at least so far. And thank you to everybody who's been a part of the program. Jim Hime, my friend, thank you, and let's do this again
Cruz.
Next time with cigars, okay?
Indeed.
It's a plan.
Absolutely.
It's a plan. Terry has been faithful to keep us going on the Wheels of Steel. Thank you, Terry. To Adam in the Cloud, thank you, and you guys have a wonderful week. And here's to Liliana singing in Spanish.
Good to you. Whatever happens, don't leave it so soon. It's alright when it's okay.